Okay, our backend Django API is ready, so let's create our front-end application. At the moment I'm in the front-end folder, so the easiest way to create a React app is using command line interface, and we'll use npx create -react -app and the name of the application. I will use front-end app. Something similar as we've done backend API, I will have front-end app here. It doesn't really matter, so I'll create it here. So everything will be downloaded and installed for me. Okay, now this is done. So what we can do is I can cd front-end app, and I can do npm start, but what I will do is I will do code current folder, and I will open that in the Visual Studio Code, and this is my project that I've created. So we have all files here, and in fact I have views, terminal, and I have the terminal here. So what I can do is npm start, and it will start my application. So waiting for localhost, and you can see this is my application here up and running. So what I will do in the Visual Studio Code, we can actually start working on this application. So I will open the source folder, and I have a few files here. First, I can remove that logo. We don't need it anymore. So I will move to trash. And then what I can do is I can open app.js here, and I will remove that test. It's not needed for our application. So I will do here app.js, and what I can do is instead of that header, I will just remove it, and we can have h1 here, and then I can have login user. So if I will save it here, so at the moment it's complaining about the logo, because so I remove the logo, I will also need to remove it from here. So that has been refreshed, and you can see here we have our login user. So I will make it a little bit better. So I will put it here, and then we'll have more space to work on this. So basically whatever I change here, it will be reflected automatically here. So that's very handy with React, and it's a live server watching our changes. So what we can do is actually I will do be a good citizen, and I will create inside source. I can create new folder, and I will do components. So inside I will create a file, and I will create login JS. That will be my component. And so what I can do is basically whatever I have here, I will just copy that. I will place it here. It will be faster. So what I need to do is I will need to import React, and also our import component from here, and I will create my login component. So, and I can extend it component. So actually we don't need this one, and that should be a class, because we would like to create a class component. So class name of the component extends component, this one that we just imported. And here what we can do is actually we will need to, for class components, we'll need to have a render function, and then here we can actually have that return. So we have everything as a class component here, and also what I will need to do is I will need to export default login. So this is my new component. I import React and component, I create class login extend component, and then I need to have render, and then I need to return something. This is a login user here. I don't need to, well, I will remove this. I will keep it very simple. So we have just login user, and instead of having that login user here, what I can do is I can actually include that component in the main component here. So what I will need to do is I will first import. So I will do login from, and I will do current folder components, and then I will do login. And this login, I can include it here like that. So what I have is I imported that new component, here, and I included there. So if I will save it, so it's going to be resolved components login. So it's supposed to be like that. And so what is the folder? We are actually here, so we need to go from the current into the components. So we're supposed to go from here up to components. So import login from dash components and slash login, like that. So small caps, and we have that. So in order to check it if this is working, I can close actually app.js here, and I have the login here. So login user form, and you can see it's working here. So this is the component that we will be working with. So basically what we'll need to have is we'll need to have some kind of fields here, and then we can, inside that fields, we can include username and password, and inside that username and password we'll send it to our backend API. So what I will do is first I will create a username, and then I can do input, and that's gonna be type text. Then I can do a name, username, and then I can close it. So what I will do is I will do the same for the password, and then this will be type of password and name password. So once this is safe, you can see username and password. What I can do is I can do break in between. One break is fine. So I'll save it here. I need to also self-close it like this. And we have username and password. Also, what I will need to do is I will need to include a button. And I can do on click. We'll use a function login. And then this button will be login, like that. We need to also create that function. So inside our class, I will do login. It's gonna be our arrow function, so I can do an event. It will be arrow function, and then we do console log login here. So save it now. Login is not defined, because we'll need to do this login, because we refer to our class. So this login, and then if I will click it here, let's say open our console, I will make it here, and I'll make it a little bit bigger, and then login, and we have login here. Whatever it's printed there, it is triggered. So at the moment, what we'll need to do is I will make another break in between this, so it will go to a next line. And that's a very basic setup. What we will do is we'll create a state. So in that state, what we can do is we can actually have credentials. That will be credentials like this. That's going to be another object. And in that object, what we can do is we can store two things: username, and the initial will be empty. And then we can store password, and also the initial will be empty. So we'll store information about our users, our form here, we will be storing in that state, and that state will help us keep it up to date. And whenever we'll click on login, then we'll use that state to pass it to our API. So what we need to do here is we need to also do on change, and we'll need to trigger wherever that will be. Then we will, wherever someone will start typing in here, then we will have it store it in the state. So let's do that now. So I will do value, and value, it will be equal to this state, and then credentials we just created, and username. So what I will do also, I will actually make it on a new line here. So here, and also I will need to do on change, and this will trigger a function, this input changed, like that. So what I will do is I will copy this and I will put it on the password as well. And this one will use a password, but will reuse the same input change. So at the moment we don't have that method yet, so I will create this method here. So it will be event as well, and then arrow function here. So what I can do is I can create a constant and I can do CRUD, like credentials, and I will assign this state credentials to it. So what I'm doing here is I'm selecting whatever I have here. So once I have this, what I can do is CRUD, and then I can select which value has been actually changed. So I can do event target name is equal to event target value, like that. So basically with that event, it will flow all the information about this. So you can see here the change. We will have this on change. It's a keyboard event. So the name is the name we have here. So in case I will change this value, it will be name will be the username. If I will change this value, it will be name password. So that name is here. So we will select the credentials, which is already this, and the name, it will be either username and password. So we select that and we assign event target value, which is the value from the form. I will attach it here. Once I have that here saved and updated, what I can do is this set state, and then I can do credentials and I can assign the credit back to it. So basically I select it from the state, I update it with the current values, and I set it back there. So once I have this available, so what we can do is we can console log here. Whenever we click on this login, we can console log whatever it's there in the state. So let's see what's in the state. I have some random characters. I will do login. You can see username and password. This is what I type in the form. It is available here on the login. So what we can actually do here is we can in that function we can use our API. So how we can actually do that? We have few methods to do it. We could use a very popular library Axios for that, or we can use a built-in browser's fetch method. So I can do fetch here. So the first argument in our fetch method is actually a URL. As you can remember, the URL for our authentication was this one. So I'll copy this and I will come back here, and then that's our URL. So we have our URL, and then a second argument is actually an object, and we can specify a few things there. So we can specify what methods we would like to use, what we would like to include, and so on and so on. So what I will do, method, it will be post, then I can do headers, that's gonna be content. Actually I can close this here, so I will see it here. Content type, it will be application JSON, like that, and then I can do also body, and what I can do in body is actually I will take these credentials and I will pass it as a body, but first I will convert it to string. So JSON, I will do stringify, and then I can stringify that credentials. So what I will do is I'm having my URL authentication. I will use method post as we've done with our postman, and then I select the header. So this request will be content type application JSON, and I will pass that JSON state credentials, but I will first stringify it. So once I have this, everything is fine. What I can do is this will return a promise. So what I can do is do a then, and inside here I will have unfulfilled. That means wherever we will have the data. So if I have a data here, I can say data console log data. Also, at the end I can do catch, and then I can do error. In case of error, I can do console log error, console log or console error. I can pass that error like that. So basically what I'm doing is, if I will have the data, I will capture that and I will commit it here. So at the moment what we have here is I will have Christian, and I will send that to our API. So I will make a little bit more space. What I will do here is I will make that on the right hand side, so we'll see actually what is happening. So if I will log in, you can see this has been sent, and if we go here we can see headers. So this was our method. We actually use the content type here, and then we have some problems now, but I will show you that in a second. So whatever you will send this API call, then you will you can investigate that in the network. But if we go to the console, you can see we have an error here. So that error is with the course. That means in Django API we are restricted our API to certain domains. So if this application will be on the same domain as it is on our Django, and at the moment it's not, because this is localhost 3000 and Django was a localhost 8000. So it's considered as a different domain, so it has been blocked. So what we can do is we can go to the PyCharm and we can actually enable that. As you remember, we have installed the course headers and we added in the installed apps, and we'll need to do a few more steps. So first thing, we'll also need to add it to the middleware. So I will do course headers middleware, and I will do course middleware like this. So once we have that added, course headers, middleware course headers, I can save it. And then we have a few options. So what I can do is I can whitelist only the domains I would like to have it, or I can open that for everyone. So what I can do is, if we go to Django course headers, so this is the one we use. We have installed Django course headers at the beginning, we added into installed apps, we have course headers middleware added, and then we have two options. So course origin allow all. If you set that to all, you will open that to everyone, or you can do course origin whitelist like this. So I will copy this is much safer way. So you can paste it here and you can decide which actually origins should be allowed. So I would like to have it local host 3000. That's the one that we have our React running on. So if I will save it now, this will be refreshed. So if I'll go back here to our React app, and let's try to do it again. So I will clear it now and I will send the same credentials again. This time you can see here I have response. If I go to the network, I have this one. So we use the post method. I'll just make it a little bit smaller. So we use the post method on the authentication. What we did is we sent this Christian username and password, and we have this back to me. So basically this token is coming back to me as a value. If I will go to response here, you can see the token is there. So at this point I can grab it and I can use it for authenticate that with the application. So what we could do is we could reuse the same form for registering the user. Instead of clicking on the login, I could use a different URL. So it's not going to be this time authentication, but it will be something like a API and movies, and basically we'll do exactly the same. So state credentials will do it, and then we expect it. So what else I would like to show you, if we console log that here, you can go here and this is what you have. So basically you have that. This is not what we expected really, because at the moment this is something that we got back from the server, but we are expecting a token to be printed. So why this is not printed here, the console log data? Well, basically this is how the fetch works. So what we need to do is we can wrap another then here just before we will have here, and then we can chain this few then. So we'll have one then, another then, and catch error if needed. So in this then, what we can say is data. Whenever we have data, we can convert that to JSON method like that. So first I will get the data, I will convert it to JSON, and then I will do console log data. So I will save it now. I will do that again, and I will log in, and you can see this time we have a token. So basically what we can do is at this point we can do data.token, and we will have it available there. So we can store it in the cookies or a local storage, and then you can authenticate your next calls with this token. So basically our login user is working fine. And that's a successful connection with our Django database. And we know already how to create a user, how to authenticate that users with a token.